Life is not complete unless you own a labor of love right now. Why not try on a T-Bird with 4 doors? Cars that are one half car, one half you. If you love to drive them, you ought to buy them from the people who love to make them. The people at Ford Motor Company.
I'm going to be doing a quick introduction to the car that we're going to be having as a project for the next, well, while. You can see it's nice and snowy out, but the main thing we're going to be looking at is this. The 1967 Thunderbird. And this is just going to be sort of going around it and showing off the good sides and the bad sides of it, which are, in my opinion, pretty well distributed. I think this is a very good car for a project and going to be a very fun car to do a restoration on. So you can see, you know, the body's in very good shape. There's some bits of rust around it, but not much. Door panels and footwells and all that stuff are intact, with the exception of something I'll show you here in a second. But you can see right here in the back, the vinyl is peeled off, and there's some rust around it. So we will have to deal with that along the way. But aside from that, you know, there's a little bit more rust on this side where that vinyl top is peeling off. But aside from that, the body is in quite good shape. There is, you know, a couple minor blemishes around here if you look around. And I guess we'll go ahead and pop the hood here and show you what's inside. So this right here is the 428 big block engine. This car could either come with a 390 or the 428, and this has the larger one. And in fact, as I'll show you here once we're looking at the inside, this thing has just about everything, well, literally every feature that it could have come with, including a lot of ones that you'd be surprised. I mean, it's got factory disc brakes on the front for a 67. Don't see that much. And all I've really done to it so far is I've put a new battery in it here. The old battery was toast because this car's been sitting for quite a while. And I cleaned out the carb to get it running. It does run. I'll show you that here in a second as well. And I also flushed out the tank and put a new fuel, again, to get it to run. You can see there's a lot of vacuum stuff in here. You got those 2 vacuum canisters down there, and you've got another big vacuum canister hiding off in this footwell here, your fender well. And it's mostly original as far as stuff goes. There's a couple of weird aftermarket deals. That wire there is actually a new choke wire. I installed that, but this thing right here is aftermarket of some sort. There it is. There's this thing down there that looks aftermarket. And then the smog pump on it is gone, which is fairly common for what is essentially a muscle car. And so yeah, I guess I'll leave this open for reasons you'll see later. But if we take a look at the inside, you'll see it's the 4-door model, and it's actually got suicide doors, which is very neat, I think. But you can see the interior of it is definitely one of the good parts. It's pretty well flawless. The only real things that it's missing are these 2 knobs on the radio right here. But aside from that, I mean, everything is, you know, in good shape. No cracks in the vinyl or the leather. Back seats are in just as good of shape. Door panels are all nice. And as you can see, you know, this thing has everything. It's got cruise control, along with, like, you know, steering wheel controls for the cruise control. Don't see that usually in 67s. It's got air conditioning, obviously. If you look down here, you can see it's got electronic seat controls. Power windows, just about everything you could think of that's power this thing has. Windshield wiper, obviously, I'll show you that. It might be frozen, so I'm not sure I can show you that right now. But, yeah, so the one bad thing on the interior, and I guess it's not really an interior thing, more as a body thing, but you can see right down here, the floor pan on the passenger side is pretty well rotted out. And actually, the reason for that, the owner that I bought it from said that at one point long ago the heater core went out, and the fluid from that sitting on the footwell was what did it in. Because aside from that, I mean, I've looked underneath it, I've had it up in the air. it's fairly clean. There's not much rust on the body, and all the rest of the fender or footwells are complete. And if you look in the trunk here, you can see I actually do have a replacement footwell inside of there that's going to be going in when I do the restoration. And you can see right here I've actually got the battery disconnected. There's a parasitic draw for some complicated reasons that I'll explain later. Well, I guess I can explain it now. Despite being full, the fuel tank thinks it's empty, and so the low fuel light is constantly on, and that kills the battery after a couple of days. So I just have to unplug the battery every time I'm done using it. So I can go ahead and plug the battery in here, and I'll start it up for you guys. This thing actually does start and run pretty well after I got the carb cleaned up. You can see need the square key for the ignition, but I can pump the pedal a few times. You see low fuel lights on despite the fact that it's about halfway full. Does not sound happy. Definitely some work to be done. Well, I guess they call it a project car for a reason. Well, let's go see what we've got. Previously, I had it actually starting and running quite well. Ooh, smells fuely. This is all hooked up nicely. And in the future with these episodes, I'm going to have someone else operating the camera so that you guys get a bit of a better experience. Where do I want to put this? I'll just put it here. Snow won't hurt it too much. You can see here's the carb. Looks like our choke is not dropping down like I want it to. You can see this right here is the butterfly plate for the choke. Yeah, there we go. I just wasn't pushing the pedal far enough down to get the choke dropped. So, let's go try this again. And yeah, like I said, I'll have someone else behind the camera on the future episodes just so that you guys get a better experience and you get to see me actually working on the car instead of just this mess. There we go. It's a very cold day, as you might have seen. Doesn't sound like it's setting down on fast idle correctly. Usually once the engine warms up, it's quite a bit happier and it'll smoothen out, but it still misfires a little bit for a couple reasons, one of which is the spark plugs are pretty bad and distributor cap and rotor need to be replaced and many other things. I'm not sure you guys are going to be able to hear me too well over this thing. It's quite loud. it's a really cold day and it's a really old engine, so it's not exactly happy, but yeah, so I guess this sort of is a good time while it's warming up to outline my plan for this thing. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Like I said, it's quite loud when it's on fast idle like this. But, yeah, it's also lots of smoke, but that's because it's, you know, cold as balls out here. But yeah, the plan on this is to do a full restoration, so that means, engine's gonna come out to be rebuilt, obviously, and then, gonna see about pulling either the whole body off of it or most of the body off of it to get all that rust patched up, get the body painted, get the frame. The frame's in good shape. There's not much for rust on it, but I do want to get the frame, you know, cleaned up and then painted with something to protect it in the future. And yeah, put it all back together, and I think it'll be a very fun project. That being said, it's going to be a very long-term project, so you're probably going to be seeing these videos coming out over the series or over the course of the next couple years. To be fully honest, but that's because I want to take my time and do this right. These things are actually pretty uncommon, especially the 4-door models. You don't see too many of them out there, especially in this good a shape. So I think it'll be a very fun and interesting car to restore. Right now it's sort of this blue color. I'm not sure how much I like that. I'm sort of tossing around ideas for what color I want to paint it, but that's, like I said, a long ways out. First step, I'm going to pull the engine and rebuild that. Maybe rebuild the transmission. We'll see. I mean, rebuild kits for these transmissions are pretty cheap, so I figure when I've got it out, I might as well do that. Plus, it'll be a fun YouTube video to make, or a series of YouTube videos. But yeah, get that rebuilt, and then we'll sort of see where we're at then, and see what depth I want to go into with the bodywork. Obviously, I need to get all the rust gone so I can get it painted. We'll see if I want to do that with the body on or the body off. But yeah, that's a ways off in the future. It does drive not spectacularly. The engine works well enough to get down the road. The steering works fine. The brakes, however, you can see the pedal just sort of like goes about 90% down before it actually catches and starts to apply the brakes, and it really does not have much braking power, so it's not safe to drive on the road right now. And that, I believe, I actually I bled the brakes and I got it all, you know, the fluid flushed out. There's no leaks or anything like that. And as far as I can tell, the issue there is the master cylinder is bad, and the brake booster also might be bad. So we'll get to that once we start pulling the engine out. And obviously I've got to get it to my garage. Right now it's at my apartment parking lot, but I've got to get it over to my garage here one of these days, and we can start cracking at it. You can see now that the engine, is it warmed up yet? It's starting to get warmed up. Let's see if it'll run off of fast idle. You just tap it. There we go. That took it off of fast idle. You can see it runs fairly well. Oh yeah, take a look at this. Turn the headlights on and run around here. Look at that. Oh, the other one's trying. That headlight opened up. This one, I think it was just kind of frozen. Here we go. Ooh, that's really frozen. Well, it tried. Usually, last time I tried it, those headlights actually worked. I think it's got enough ice in it right now that it's not working. This one also doesn't go down on its own. Yeah, it's kind of neat. You can see it's got the big AC compressor up top here. And it does, you know, it runs fairly smooth once you get it going. It's just kind of a pain to start when it's, you know, 15 degrees out and snowing and ice everywhere and all that awfulness. So let's shut it off here. Oh yeah, look at this. The radio Does in fact work. Is that great or what? Sounds like a big block. So nice and quiet. Anyways, gotta remember to disconnect the battery. Got some smoke here. This may come as a surprise to you, but this thing has a couple of leaks. It's what, only 50 years old these days? So, yeah, it's a good project, I think. It's got a lot of good stuff, a lot of bad stuff. You know, on the one hand, it's in need of a lot of work, and on the other hand, it's complete. You know, everything is there. The interior's all there, which is hard to find these days. You see a lot of those classic cars where the interior's like either trash or just gutted, gone. But this is all there, all original too. I mean, it's got some aftermarket stuff you can see, weird aftermarket lines. Not sure what those are for. Well, I mean, radiator lines, air conditioning lines, and heater core lines, but not sure why they felt the need to put weird, fancy blue braided ones on. But, yeah. You can see the cruise control boot on it right here is torn. So cruise control obviously does not work. It's got this weird cruise control actuator, hydraulic actuator for the brake booster, which is kind of neat. I'll get into that later once we're on that section of things. But yeah, it's got a lot of potential, I think, and I think it'll make a very fun project to do what is essentially going to be a full restoration. Next time you see a video posted, I'll have this at my garage, and we'll be yanking the engine out of it, I think. So yeah, that's that.